Looking to get quality insurance at a price you can afford? Now you can, thanks to CFM Insurance. Select from our broad range of farm, home, and rental property coverage. Find an agent right in your local area, as CFM is represented by a network of 200 independent agencies throughout Missouri. For personal and dependable service from a company with a history of insuring the families of Missouri that dates back to 1869, visit WeInsureMissouri.com and find an agent near you today.
Welcome to the post-primary edition of This Week in Missouri Politics Opinion Maker Panel, because there's lots to have an opinion about. Starting with the Dean of the Republican Party here in Missouri, David Barklage, elected more Republicans than I know. Welcome back, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Becky Ruth, representative from down in Jefferson County. Welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Mike Rivas, Jefferson County, St. Louis County legislator. Welcome back to the show.
Good to be here.
And the guy who may have had the best week of anybody this year, Mike Lewis, head of the AFL-CIO. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Scott.
Congratulations on a huge win. Tell me how you did it.
We simply told the truth. We energized the working class people.
And to be clear, you told the truth about right to work. On the ballot was Prop A. Went down, what was the numbers?
66 to 33.
How many counties did you win?
Oh, about 99 out of 114.
So when you break that down, you say you told the truth, but I mean you did. I think you'd have to say probably a superior ad campaign and superior ground game. Is that right?
We
Is that fair?
we had a great ground game, especially. We had a good ad game, and it was a good campaign. We were as good as we could be.
David Bartlett, it felt like the other side never really got on track in this race.
Yeah, no, I think Mike's right. I think they ran a superb campaign, well organized, a lot of passion to it. It was an issue that a lot of the union households cared deeply about. The campaign outspent their opponents probably $14–16 million. And in a campaign in Missouri, $16 million can move a lot of votes, especially when you're well organized and you're spending it well. So, the fact that the governor had the campaign going, it collapsed, it had no money, and there was no campaign in June, just made it that much tougher for pro-right to work.
But I've seen some people say, well, it's this excuse the Republican or Missourians are just too damn dumb to know what they voted on. I don't think that's a fair thing. I mean, that you don't say that about state rep races, right?
Right. Look, I mean, we can argue and out of courtesy we can get into the issues, but those were all played out in the campaign, and the voters have spoken. And I think this battle goes to the anti-right to work forces. We'll see where the next battle goes.
Let's talk about that, Representative. In your neck of the woods, folks, we're about 80% against right to work. It's an issue you've been passionate about. I think it may have played an issue in your campaign. What was your sense on the ground in Jefferson County?
Everywhere we went, I went throughout the entire county, not just in my district, and people were all strong no's. I wasn't surprised by the turnout, wasn't surprised by the support and ground game that we saw there. This isn't a new issue. People know their stance on right to work. They know that it's wrong for Missouri. That we've been fighting this for 40 years, longer than I've been alive, and people knew how they were going to vote. It wasn't anything new to people. Representative,
you don't get 66% of Missourians to agree that water is wet most of the time. You're a Republican. You've been open to your constituents' views on labor issues. To get 66%, there was a lot of Republicans voted no too, right?
Yes, so Jefferson County, District 114, we have a lot of pro-labor Republicans. And one of the things that I heard from my constituents time and time again, and even folks at the polls, which the poll I was at had overwhelmingly like 47–48% turnout, which was huge. Wow. But this is their livelihood. That's what I heard over and over again. This is our livelihood. This is important to us. And they came out and they voted and their voices were heard.
So let's talk David Barklage going forward. It's been my view, I think the numbers bear this out, where union members live, they've been voting Republican. Probably for sometimes pro-labor Republicans, but for whatever reason the Republican Party's message has hit home to them. They did come out. This is the thing the Republicans put on the ballot. They picked the day. They forced this issue. Do guys in the labor union, are they mad about if their rep voted for this? Did they take it out on them in November?
Well, that would be a question probably on the other side to answer. I'll tell you this. We are seeing the beginning of what I think is, as we saw in '94 with evangelicals moving the Republican Party, and we saw in border states through the last 10 years moving the Republican Party. I think you are seeing a significant movement of blue-collar workers towards the Republican Party. The Democrat Party is being more and more taken over by progressives that don't care about trade. They don't care about immigration. They don't care about really manufacturing, and those issues are being taken up more and more by Republicans. You have cultural issues within, I think, union membership in terms of pro-life, pro-gun. And so I think you're going to see, as you saw a transition in Jefferson County from auto workers that were very closely, I think, controlled in terms of sort of nationally how they voted, they fell in line, to where your more trade unions, your carpenters and others are more independent in terms of how they vote. So I think we're seeing the tip of a trend. Will they punish? Sure, there's some people that feel real strongly about it, but that isn't what happened in Indiana and some of the other states. I think the real key lesson here is this. Right to work, as you noted, is a long time, issue that, I think that unions and certain businesses care more about it than maybe it impacts, but all due respect, the point is it's going to continue on. And the unions walking out of here with the win, seeing Republicans as opponents on this issue, but not as enemies overall, is going to be critical. If they do that, they're going to be part of governance in the state. When it comes to jobs, you have a new governor that's all about infrastructure. Infrastructure is jobs, union jobs is going to be important, so they can either fight a governor and legislature who is now coming forward to take a lead in transportation, other infrastructure, and be allies on that issue, or they can say, we don't like where you were on right to work, we're enemies forever. I don't think that's the case.
Let me ask you, Michael, as you've been one of the most innovative union leaders that maybe Missouri's ever seen in reaching out and being open to anybody, regardless of their party. If you're a union member and your rep voted for this and you're passionate about it, I think it may come down to, you're not happy with your legislator right now. Do you take on them, or does the National Party, which is probably not where most union members are, do they just weigh that down and they just can't stomach being a Democrat because of stuff out of Washington?
Well, first of all, this had nothing to do with Washington, D.C. Second of all, people on this panel keep talking about what union members did. There's only 280,000 union members in this state. Almost 700,000 people voted to reject and kill right to work here in Missouri. So the numbers go way beyond labor. This is an issue where the working class people are sick and tired of being the lower class people. The middle class is deteriorating and quickly. And I think that this is a real showing of what people want to do, and that is, let's rebuild the middle class. Let's work together. Let's build on infrastructure. Let's build on things that the government can do to recreate a middle class, do away with working people not quite being in the middle class anymore. A lot of people who go to work every day, work 2 jobs, a single parent maybe, but not always, both parents. They're living below poverty level. That's not right. That's what this is about fixing.
Let me ask you a question. Jefferson County is home to the man, Jay Nixon, who got more votes than anybody in the history of this state. More Missourians have voted for him than anybody ever. He is not a socialist left-winger. You don't seem to be. The Democrat Party at the national level is moving that way. Your election, I'm sure you want it to be about right to work in Missouri. How do you run and keep the national liberal socialist message out of Jefferson County? I don't think they'll accept it.
Well, it's about knowing your constituents and going out on the doors. That's what everyone has to do if they want to be a successful legislator or any office that they're running for. If you're not talking to people in your district and taking what they believe in with you, whether it be Jeff City or whichever race you're running for, you won't be a successful legislator.
Representative, let's talk about moving forward. There's already been some talk. Some folks in your caucus in the House want to try to bring this back. Is that really a viable, serious thing being discussed, bringing an issue back the voters just rejected so soundly?
I don't think that would be a wise move to bring it back. I think that, the people have spoken, and we need to respect what the people have said. They made their voices heard, and we as legislators need to respect that. And let's move on. Let's look at things like our infrastructure and making sure we're bringing good paying jobs here to Missouri.
David Bargas, there's an auditor's race on the ballot. I have to say, I was a little surprised. I think most folks were by the outcome. It wasn't necessarily the biggest grassroots movement, wasn't the most money spent for sure on the campaign. Sandra McDowell won the primary. How'd she win it?
Well, I think numbers are pretty clear when you have 3 males and 1 woman. That's number one. That certainly helps.
I've always thought of that as a thing that mattered more in Democrat primaries.
No, it actually neither. I think Republicans, have a desire for diversity. It's just as they don't get too many opportunities for it. And so I think in this case, that was one. Two, clearly there had to be some fumbles on, Paul Curtman was seen as sort of the ideological right of the party and having that energy. I don't think he was ever able to translate any of that energy.
He came in fourth.
Yeah, well, I don't think he was ever to get any of that energy for auditor. I think if he was running for Congress or something that was more ideologically tilted, I think his group, his people would have come out. David Wassinger had the money, had the opportunities. He ended up with money in the bank. I don't know if he polled. If he would have polled, he probably would have seen that he needed to run a different campaign. So lost opportunity there. And so I think
Kevin Roach did very well.
I agree.
Almost came in second.
Yeah, and I don't want to take away. I mean, I am sure that Sandra every day was out there working hard, selling, keeping on message. So not taking away from the winner, just simply pointing out the fact that I think there were some missteps and some opportunities that she took, and that combination created her as a victor.
You got to be watching election night very surprised to see, I think, what was an upset by any. If you look at ground game, you look at ad spending. On the other side, Nicole Galloway is squaring off against somebody she probably didn't expect to be.
Right, but she's been working her tail off. If you look at 2014 versus 2018 votes for state auditor, voter turnout has gone exponentially up when you compare the two elections. She's going to continue to put in the work, and people are going to listen.
You're somebody that knows Nicole Galloway. I saw her come out hard right after the election with some attacks on some of the things in Ms. McDowell's past. I have to think Nicole Galloway was surprised on election night, right?
By the outcome, absolutely, on the Republican side. I think everybody was. But, Nicole is one of those people that she does a great job as auditor. She goes about it quietly. She doesn't run in front of the TV cameras every chance she gets. She does a good job. She does it quietly. If you pay attention to the news, you know she's doing her job, and I think she'll run her campaign the same way. She'll be effective. She won't be loud. She won't be running in front of the TV cameras every chance she gets. She'll just do a good job.
The case for Sandra McDowell, I mean, it probably runs close with Holly, right? If Holly does well, she does well.
I think so. I think we'll see some trending there as to how Holly does overall in our state. In a lot of races. I think you're going to see that.
It's not the worst thing in the world, too, to have a Republican woman on this ticket in the era of Trump. Probably, I think Republicans very much would like to have women involved and might be a good photograph for a lot of Republicans to be photographed with her.
Well, and I think we have a lot of strong women running. We've seen more and more step up and decide to run and have strong leadership. And I think that's a great thing for our whole state, to have more women in politics and to have strong women leaders.
Let's tie this up. Can Sandra McDowell win if Josh Hawley loses?
If she has enough money. I mean, Galloway has the issue that
no?
she was, I would say, yes, she can win. It just will take a lot more money.
Can Sandra McDowell win if Josh Hawley loses?
If she's out there working hard, getting the message out there.
Can she win if Josh Hawley loses?
No.
I have to agree.
I think that's really right. We'll be back. We'll be right back after this to argue this point on This Week in Missouri Politics.
In my state of Oklahoma, since it's become a right-to-work state, we've lost tens of thousands of jobs, and wages have gone down. I lost my job of 36 years.
Census Bureau and U.S. Department of Labor reports show that in right-to-work states, families make over $8,700 less per year, but CEOs make 361 times the average worker.
Prop A in Missouri is not what they're trying to sell you.
All across Missouri, our new car and truck dealers are building strong local economies. When you buy a car or truck in Missouri, you're helping to support over 20,000 Missouri families who rely on the auto industry for good-paying local jobs. You're also helping fund our communities, schools, first responders, and our roads, because dealers generate millions of dollars in tax revenue. Missouri's automobile dealers have been the foundation of our communities for generations and for generations to come. The Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, the heart of Missouri.
Looking to get quality insurance at a price you can afford? Now you can, thanks to CFM Insurance. CFM specializes in a broad range of farm, home, and rental property coverage. Find an agent right in your local area, as CFM is represented by over 150 independent agents throughout Missouri. For friendly, personal, dependable service from a well-respected leader in the insurance industry, visit cfmutual.com/agents and find an agent near you today.
At Ameren, Missouri, we know what light can do. It draws people together and chases monsters away. And if you shine it in the right direction, it will light the path for the next generation, showing them what their tomorrow could look like, and spotlighting the possibilities that lay in front of them. Investing in our community by lighting the way forward. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back to Week in Missouri Politics, joined by Representative Rivas from Jefferson County and St. Louis County, Mike Lewis, the man of the hour, the head of the Missouri AFL-CIO, Representative Becky Ruth from Jefferson County, and David Barkley, Dean of the Republican Party. So it's officially, the matchup is set. Josh Hawley, Claire McCaskill. It's going to be a heavyweight fight, fully funded, all those things. They come out of the gate, Hawley challenging her to a series of debates. Look, if you watch those press conferences he held on one of the most delicate issues I've ever seen, an attorney general of his own party, investigating a governor of his own party, he was outstanding. Does that translate to a debate? If it does, Claire McCaskill may have a true, honest competitor at her level.
Yeah, I think Josh Hawley, every politician has strengths and weaknesses, and it's critical for a campaign to try to promote the strengths while protecting the weaknesses. And in this case, I think Josh Hawley on a debate platform with Claire is only bad for Claire. I think that with SCOTUS hanging out there, the Supreme Court pick, that is very, very problematic to Claire. I do not believe, as others on this panel, that she will ever consider Kavanaugh, and I think that and other issues in her record with a prosecutor type like Hawley is a real opportunity for Hawley to come ahead in this race.
I think it's an interesting thing. I think Claire McCaskill knows that the water tower in Tippin's painted with an 8-ball, and that the highway in Kennett ends at the McDonald's. She knows the state very well. I think she's very tough to debate, but I thought it was interesting of Hawley to come out and say, let's have it. Let's have the matchup.
Absolutely. I think that's in his best interest. Get out there, debate her, talk about the issues, talk about his strengths, and get his message across.
Okay, Representative, let's talk about the thing that was obvious. I think that someone on the Hawley campaign doesn't know the difference between a flatbed truck and a flatbed trailer.
Yep.
That is a mistake Claire McCaskill doesn't make, although she did kind of get confused about an RV and a plane earlier. She is very good.
Right. Well, and I invite him to Jefferson County to learn the difference between the flatbed and the trailer. But Claire has been working hard. She's going into unfriendly territory in the state for her because she truly wants to represent Missouri. So whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, she wants to know what you're thinking. So she's going to every corner of this state, and she's going to continue to work hard during this campaign.
Mike Lewis, you're an influential labor leader. I'm just a white trash West Butler County hillbilly. But I think Claire McCaskill's onto something when she almost uses the Attorney General's Ivy League education against him.
That was brilliant. It really is, the Golden Boy book. I think that's, I don't know where that came from, but it's great.
She doesn't miss money tricks.
She does. Claire McCaskill is a hard worker who pays attention to, keeps her thumb on the pulse of Missouri. She knows what Missourians want, and she knows what Missourians like, and I think that's what keeps Claire McCaskill going, is she's all about Missouri. She's especially about Missouri veterans.
She has a lot of Missouri style. Her opponents will say she might not have the voting record as Jeff Countyans would vote for, right? I mean, how do you go to somebody that Jeff County, everybody voted for Trump, everybody voted against right to work? How do you make that case if you voted for Trump and you still like him, which I assume a lot of Jeff Countyans do? Why do you vote for McCaskill?
Well, there's this feeling of an attack on the working class and on people's way of life, and I think that's going to be a big key part of this next election. Right to work really set a lot of people off, and they're going to push back.
So putting right to work on the ballot helped Claire McCaskill, right? It forms her race. It gives her a commonality with some folks she might have not had the most commonality with in the era of Trump.
I think it certainly helps some, but we look at that race, and that was done now in the primary, and we're moving forward to the general election. That's going to have some carryover into the general election, and it's going to be up to Hawley to get out there again, improve his message, and talk to the voters. And I think if he can do that, get on more relational type level with those voters, I think he'll come out victorious.
Top Mississippi Senate primaries that ended. Tony Luetkemeyer defeated Harry Robertson 34th. He had a lot of money. It was a little different dynamic than it was 8 years ago when Schaaf won. Now he's set up for a tough general election.
Absolutely. I think Republicans in the Senate are going to have multiple tough races. I think it's going to be a year that's going to be very challenging in a lot of these Senate races. Cindy O'Laughlin won. She won solid. She's cemented. She won't have a tough time. But I think that definitely that seat, because you've got a lot of soft Republican voters in Platte County and Buchanan County. You've got a more conservative Democrat base.
And Rucker's not a bad candidate at all.
That's right. And in Missouri, we've seen Jay Nixon, we've seen Mel Carney, we've seen a lot of politicians that run many times and missed office and then get it and can't be beat. So, just sort of nature of Missouri, and then they kick out people that you don't think can be beat. So, I think that there wasn't anything surprising. I think that money made a major factor in the races that won, and independent expenditures now under finance law is what's making the difference.
Justin Brown came on in Rolla, Dan Brown's son.
Yes.
That primary was pretty tight, but he ended up winning it. Tell folks about him.
He is a, I helped did his father's campaign. His father was a veterinarian, and everybody I talked to, he saved my dog and this and that. There is real intensity, so recruit veterinarians because people just love their vet. But Justin is just a kind soul. He's a good guy. He had the benefit of money and his father's legacy, but at the same time, he's the kind of kid you're proud enough that he can hold his own, and I think that that's what carried him over, that people got to meet him and said, you're no Dan Brown, you're Justin, and we sort of like that.
Representative, tell folks about Bill White. You served with him. He's going to be in the state Senate from Joplin now.
Bill White, I think we talked about earlier, is the fact that he stands up and speaks on something when he feels the need to. He's not somebody you necessarily hear from a whole lot unless there's an issue that's really important to him. He's going to be an integral part in the Senate, and they're going to have to try to figure things out, and how do we work among this whole circle within the Senate.
You look at some of what David said. David's in this business, but there was like Axiom. Axiom Strategies had about $850,000 of money come in from some of these expenditures. They connected. It did look like the money mattered. Bill White may have beat on last-minute surge of money. It'd be interesting to see how he takes that to the Senate. Let's talk about the Democrat side. To me, you start off with Brian Williams. He could be the next big thing in Democratic politics. I mean, this is a talented guy. He's going to replace Senator Shapal Nadal. It may have a general election, but won the primary. He seems like he's going to be a very effective voice for St. Louis.
Brian is an exceptional person all the way around. He's smart. He gets it, and he can work with everybody. And I think that's going to be really, really important. The one thing I would like to say that we have learned as labor and as the representative of the working class is that we do so much better when we coalesce with everybody who cares about working people. And that's what we've done here. And moving forward, we take that lesson forward, we win, and maybe even get some upsets.
Talk about one race that was, I think, surprised a lot of folks. Karla May is going to be in the state Senate now, representing the city of St. Louis. You've served with her. Tell folks a little bit about her.
Yeah, well, a strong leader when it comes to knowing constituents, knowing working people. Obviously, so was Senator Hummel was a very strong voice for labor, strong leader in the House. We were in good hands either way, and we're going to continue to be in good hands with Karla May.
You bet. Let's moving forward. Let's talk about the House perspective. The House of Representatives and the caucus of the Republicans represent way more than they were ever intended to represent, right, David Bartlett? I mean, yes. You're going to lose a few seats. It stands to reason when you have the White House, it's not that advantageous. What is a good night for House Republicans?
Containable losses. I think
number at, though?
I think 6 to 8 seats,
yeah.
Because as we saw threads of a very strong progressive movement that was sort of hiding under the union turnout and the union supported turnout. So I think there is a real problem with turnout for Republicans, and I think that 6 to 8 loss would be a good night.
Is that where internally you think?
I would have to go with that. I think we're going to have to get out there and make sure we're getting our message out. And the most important thing as a state representative is to be representative of your district. Mm-hmm. Make sure you understand what your constituents want, how they feel on the issues, and get out there and relate to them. Do a lot of groundwork. Get out there and get the grassroots campaign going.
What do you think internally? I mean, you're in a very competitive race, but overall Democrats had to feel like the wind's at their back a little bit, and maybe it's because there's a lot of seats that Democrats should have won in the past, right?
Right. Now, I won't count chickens before they hatch when it comes to flipping seats, but I will say that Democrats have a lot of energy right now. The working class has a lot of energy right now, and they're going to go out and make some changes come November.
Michael, though, is there a concern when you have a party that in the primary lost some leaders that, while you do have a lot of progressive energy, I'm not sure how far out into the state they really want an aggressive, liberal, very liberal agenda? Is there not some concern that in some of the parties where you're maybe not pulling out the best candidates that could win in November?
Well, the way that happens is we have to be very careful, because labor and working class people have friends on both sides of the aisle. Mm-hmm. We don't have to worry about the Democrat versus Republican numbers. We have to worry about who our friends are. We have to take care of our friends on both sides of the aisle, which is highly important. And I think what you're talking about in rural Missouri, we have friends. Mm-hmm. They may not be Democrats, but we have friends, and we got to protect those friends. So I'm thinking we do that. We pick up a few seats where people have already said, they don't care how the Proposition A vote goes, that they're going to bring it back. They're going to bring right to work right back up. And I think those are the people that we need to look at and look at seriously.
You lose a Bob McCullough. He can help you win seats in South County. The newcomer that beat him probably can't. Is that not concerning going forward? Democrats like yourselves, the McKennas, folks that have won those seats, those are the kind of people that you need to win those swing seats. Isn't that right?
Well, it all depends on the individual and the seat that they're running for. And talking to folks and getting their message out.
Well, with a minute left, then tell us who won this week in Missouri politics.
I would say it's the middle class thanks to the working class. They banded together and told the 1% that they're not going to dictate how we live our life.
Who won the week?
The working class people, absolutely. They told it like it is. Quit.
Who won this week?
People of Missouri coming out and making their voices heard overwhelmingly on Prop A, and having that on the ballot and giving them that chance is awesome. That
turnout that they did come out in such droves cost me a bet with Jane Duker that I'm a little sore about, but yeah, congratulations to them.
I could have warned you on that bet. I'm going to give a nod out to Ken Waldron, the county exec of Jefferson County,
Absolutely.
For winning his primary after struggling this last year. But I think the real winner is the progressives. They upset McCullough. They are a real force in the Democrat Party. They are definitely working class. I think they're probably more socialist. I think they create a real problem for the Democrats in terms of governing Missouri at any time in the future, but they're definitely a force this cycle.
And I'll say one guy whose legislative career came to an end this week, it's Senator Jay Kummel, one of the truly best people, regardless of your political persuasion, one of the best human beings I've got to observe in the legislature. And while the state of Missouri will see a different senator, I think the Hummel family probably won the week. And we'll see you next week on This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics, sponsored by CFM Insurance, the Missouri Association of Career Fire Protection Districts, Spire, and Sterling Bank.